Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention? The forum is about to begin. Hi and a very good day I bid to all the students, lecturers and all the audience. I am Mastura. It is my pleasure to be a moderator for this forum and I want to express my gratitude to each and every one of you for coming to see us today. The topic of the forum would be, is it a good idea that some universities have to move to online education because of the COVID-19 pandemic? This subject is crucial to the way things are right now. Before the forum begins, allow us to introduce the panels. For your attention, our panels are from UiTM Seremban. Our first panel would be Ms. Siti Aisyah binti Zafaruddin as the Vice President of Student Representative Council, and the second panel would be Ms. Nurhamizah binti Uthman as the Vice President of Public Administration. Next, we have Ms. Nurfazrinatul Nadia binti Abu Bakar as the Vice President Corporate Administration Student Society. Then we have Mr. Nazar Shazwan bin Naha Asni as the President Faculty of Computer Science. And lastly, we have Mr. Muhammad Hakimi bin Awang as the President of Public Administration. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our forum for today, allow me to briefly explain the rules. Audience must turn off the microphone during the forum, chat in polite language, and wear appropriate attire. Finally, if you have any questions about the subject, feel free to enter them in the chat box. I will read them aloud during the Q&A session at the conclusion of our forum. Your assistance is much valued. More over a year has passed since the COVID-19 pandemic. It is clear that the proliferation of online education has altered the educational environment. Over the past year, students' attitude have seen a significant shift. According to a recent global student poll by Czech organization, 78% of Malaysian tertiary students choose online learning over traditional face-to-face classes, as it implies lower costs. But does it give the benefits towards the student, or does it do more harm than good? Ms. Aisyah, as part of the student, what is your opinion regarding this topic?
Thank you, Mrs. Moderator. Good morning to all panelists and the audience. My name is Siti Aisyah binti Zafaruddin and I'm the Vice President of Student Representative Council. Today, I'm one of the panelists invited here and I'm representing the Student Representative Council for today's forum discussion. The topic given for today's forum discussion is quite interesting. As we all know, the impact of COVID-19 on student life becomes significant. This can be, for example, experiencing more workload and adapting oneself to an online learning mode immediately. Here, I would like to state that I think it is a good idea that some universities move to online education due to COVID-19 pandemic. Why? Because students being able to learn faster online rather than in a traditional classroom setting. Do you know that students retain 25 to 60% more material when learning online compared to only 8 to 10% in a classroom? This is because with e-learning, students have more control over the learning process as well as the opportunity to revisit the training as needed. Students can improve their total attendance as more interesting multimedia content available nowadays, more access to their instructor and fellow classmates via online chat, and also a lower risk of outside schedule problems. Thus, students may be able to learn faster as online learning contents nowadays have improved a lot. Students can learn at their own pace, going back and rereading, skipping or accelerating through concepts as they choose. Students can progress through the content at their own pace because online learning is more flexible than classroom-based learning. It can be taken by those who require extra time to understand an idea. People also have the option of going more quickly. According to a Brandon Hall study, e-learning requires 40 to 60% less time to learn than in a traditional classroom setting. This is because it can be performed asynchronously and whenever the student needs it. This way workflow is not interrupted. Besides, a learning environment that can be customized by the students themselves according to their own comfort and choice to complete coursework. Conflicts in schedules and absences are essentially eliminated in online learning. Even though certain programs can necessitate attendance at specific times for online lectures, those same lectures are typically recorded for subsequent use. People who work full-time or who have childcare obligations that would interfere with regular school attendance can benefit greatly from schedule flexibility. For example, just consider how traditional education would fail the single mother whose last-minute cancellation of the babysitter. She can still go to class thanks to online learning since she knows her kid is being taken care of. Therefore, I totally agree that it is a good idea that some universities move to online education due to COVID-19 pandemic.
I don't agree with your view. Regarding your opinion as you just stated just now, were students being able to learn faster online rather than in a traditional classroom setting? It's all about a normal student life. Then how about those special needs students? Are we also supposed to pay attention toward them as they are also students? Students also highlighted that online platforms are not easily adjustable to deaf, hard of hearing, or special needs students. The government should help such students by offering courses provided by specialists of students. During the transition to distance learning, which is online classes, the teaching staff and students of university face a number of problems that affect the availability of education for students with disabilities. Thus, it turned out that not all teachers, especially older ones, have sufficient knowledge of computer technology, and that distance learning requires a significant amount of time to prepare more didactic material in a remote format and to revise educational technologies. However, distance learning, which is online classes, has created enough problems, and we can state too little satisfaction with the organization of training. According to the estimates of students with hearing impairments, about half of all the lectures that were held were not clear, even though the teachers tried to interest them and had presentations. Based on the article I've read, the author Kokan, Osmuk, and Verinova, they mentions that from half of the respondents say for the deaf, the presentations were uninformative and not clear to everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Aisha and Ms. Nadia, for the opinion. Among the benefits that has been mentioned by Ms. Aisha is the generous amount of the material can be obtained. Besides, flexibility time for the students to study is giving a lot of convenience towards the students, as every student has different commitment. Ms. Nadia stated that online learning has given some challenges towards the students with hearing impairment as they need a proper and specific material to learn with. Ms. Miza, does the student be able to retain discipline during the online learning?
Thank you to the moderator. After the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, I think that online learning can improve the motivation, discipline, and communication of university students. This is because when students study online, students will necessarily realize and need to hone their talents to be more proficient in various ways to do each university assignment, whether it is an assignment in the club or an assignment given by their lecturer. They will also definitely do their best to improve their level of communication, because this communication is very important to ensure that students will always be aware of everything. Online learning will also make it easier for students to prepare their group presentations. They will do their best to study the module or information in more depth to make a presentation that attract the lecturer's attention. Next, the students will be more disciplined and always motivate themselves in completing each assignment given by their lecturer. This is because each assignment has a deadline for the submission of a video presentation or report. So, students can teach themselves to be more disciplined in completing assignment before the deadline. If they behave recklessly, it will affect their final marks, and maybe even their name will be put on the record as a result of the problems that they do. So, for here, they can learn how to improve their quality as students and prevent themselves from entering Google Meet late and so on. For example, is in completing assignment, students will always message or WhatsApp their lecturers to ask for assignment details and etc. They will also often discuss with their group mates about the assignment, so this will improve their communication skills compared to face-to-face learning. Face-to-face learning, usually students will feel afraid to meet or ask the lecturer about the assignment. Sometimes this also gives problems to students when they are afraid to ask their lecturers. So I think that it is a good idea that some universities have to move to online education.
Thank you for the information, but in my opinion, I better totally disagree and reject with the statement of the panel Mirza. This is because students may be reluctant to speak with their instructor through WhatsApp about the specific of the assignment due to the fact that some instructors are nasty and unsupportive. This because online learning may be one of the factors that contributed to the reluctance on the student behalf. This is due to the fact that some educators want their students to discuss whatever they don't understand and comprehend with a classmate first, and if the classmate still don't understand, the student can find the research of the topic they don't understand in the internet. This is because some academic operate under the false assumption that all the content now may be accessed online. In addition, this show the lecturer display the unpleasant attitude and demeanor toward the pupil in the class. This will unmotivate of the student, and student will suffer to survive alone on the online education because the attitude of lecturer show is unfriendly. Additional, even if the student prepare the study of the material in greater depth in order to deliver in a presentation, it is still feasible for a student to cheating, and there is a significant chance that the student will cheat. Students are shown reading their script, especially a lot of students when the presentation they only read the script they has prepared. This is indicating that they do not make any attempt to the assignment without first reading the script. As a direct consequence of this, students will never be able to give a presentation in front of audience while making use of body language to get the audience attention. As a result, students are prone to telling lies during their presentation. As a result of this, students are more likely to cheat on presentation because they are only taught to focus on making the deadline, which does not educate them to do their job in honest and competent manner. This will make the student become undisciplined because their attitude, which is cheating on their presentation by reading the script.
Thank you, Ms. Miza and Mr. Nazar, for your point. Based on Ms. Miza's point of view, online learning can help the students to be more disciplined as the supervision of the lecturer is less than learning via face-to-face. This teaches the students to stand on their own feet, to be disciplined in completing their task that has been assigned. While Mr. Nazar stated that the student might be cheating in preparing the study contents, and some of the lecturers might not notice the question that have been asked to them. Ms. Nadia, What is one of the disadvantages of online learning that usually occur?
My argument is online classes are prone to technical, which is internet issues. Online learning is wholly reliant on adequate access to the internet and found that the students anticipate lower grades because of poor connectivity. Many times in the past, students were required to download and or install cumbersome apps or technology that will deliver inconsistent performance. Luckily, nowadays, online classes can be accessed through the click of the link without the need to install anything. But nowadays, internet problems are always happen, especially in rural areas. And that is the biggest problem when facing an online classes. We can see a student from Sabah, Viviana, a student from UMS, facing internet access problems. She had to build a tree house and be there for 24 hours and give herself the experience of having to climb a tree in order to get strong enough internet access to answer an online exam. Even though she is able to attend the online classes, but the percentage of her to get a dangerous situation is very high because she has to climb trees and the potential for her to fall or meet a wild animal is very high. Also, treehouse is a less comfortable places than at home. This is one of the students who have faced internet access problems, and we're not sure how many students are facing internet problems but have not been detected until today. This difficulty is more pronounced for students with minimal internet access in rural areas, or those who are unable to afford costly subscription of network plans and will have to depend on a traditional internet pay-as-you-go SIM card network plan. These difficulties and issues related to digital technology vary with downloading problems, installation difficulties, login errors, video and audio issue, and so forth. Based on the article I have read, the author Dawan indicates a similar point of view. He mentioned that the lack of sufficient digital resources, no internet access or Wi-Fi connection will bring about a lot of problems because many learners can miss learning opportunities. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Mr. Hakimi, do you agree with Miss Nadia?
I strongly agree with panel 3 online classes as process to technical issue, which is the difficulty of students who have minimized internet access in rural area. So I will explain in depth about internet problem during the COVID-19 pandemic. For all to know, the flow of internet traffic in Malaysia have seen a significant increase since the Movement Control Order MCO was implemented from March 18, which has an impact on internet speed. The Malaysian Communication and Multimedia Communication SKMM informed that the flow of internet traffic across that country increased by 23.5% in the first week of the MCO as well as 3.6% in the second week, according to the mobile experience during the COVID-19 pandemic. 4G download at speed report realizes open signal. Malaysian average 4G download speed dropped from 30.4 megabytes per second Mbps in early February to 8.8 Mbps last week. The report found sources Asian spent an hour more a day during the lockdown, while Malaysians spent 3.7 hours in online for personal use before COVID-19, which rose that 4.8 hours at the peak of the lockdown and now rests at 4.2 hours a day. He explained that the increase in data use causes congestion in the flow of internet traffic, thus causing a decrease in download speed. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nadia and Mr. Hakimi, on your explanation on the disadvantage of online learning. Mr. Nazar, is it easy for the student to adapt with the new learning method, which is online learning?
Thank you to moderator for letting me voice out my thoughts. The internet platform creates a gap and makes it tough to utilize for individuals who are inexperienced with it. This is very different from a traditional education, where all lessons are taught face-to-face. As a direct result of COVID-19, students and instructors are working toward the goal of completing their education entirely online. As a consequence of COVID-19 efforts, all classes, quiz, and exam will be moved online. Students and teachers who fail to appropriately use technology may risk falling behind their classmates in online academic abilities. Both students and instructors will need substantial amount of time to become proficient with newly developed tools and technology, as well as the shift to the online education. As a consequence of the internet increasing use of digital technology in learning environment, university may choose to construct an online library to offer efficient service to classroom instructor, student, and other stakeholders. As a consequence, educator and students who are inexperienced with modern technology may have difficulty using the digital library. The COVID-19 pandemic virus seldom takes people by a surprise because educational institutions must create a digital library application so students may access online instruction. Furthermore, since the digital library application is the first time, students may have used the brand new digital library app, and the feedback from the student is the app is not friendly. This is due to the length of the time necessary to shift from traditional learning to online education. It is unfortunate that certain pupils, such as those who live in poverty and have no interest in technology, will find it difficult to adapt to the new environment, which is for households with annual income of less than 5,000, which is in category B40. Digital learning tool may be facilitate autonomous study among youngsters during the COVID-19 pandemic. This is due to the fact that when Malaysia was present with COVID-19, the Movement Control Order (MCO) required a substantial number of business and organizations to cease their operation due to the 2 years need to get in MCO. The result is many parents have been forced to abandon their employment. This immediately adds to an incapacity of the organization to operate and hire the worker, which finally the result is the organization will become bankrupt or destruction. This makes the student from the low-income family who can afford essential school supply will fall behind and lose the momentum in online education because their parents cannot afford their children with the digital technology, which is required to them in online education.
Ms. Aisha, what is your view regarding this gap?
Thank you for your view and opinion. Regarding the gap which technology digital created does makes it more difficult for people unfamiliar with it to use for e-learning, it may be overcome by providing guidance for students and training for the teaching staff before the new school's term starts so that it can be applied in the classroom. Therefore, in my opinion, whenever they need help, they can refer to the guide provided. Next, have you ever heard about the Malaysian Family Student Device Package? The Malaysian Family Student Device Package is a government initiative in collaboration with selected communication companies to supply a tablet device to every B40 student in institutions of higher learning IPT. For this purpose, the government will provide an allocation of 450 million ringgit in addition to the commitment of telecommunication companies, which also contributed about 65 million ringgit. The program is expected to benefit approximately 600,000 students nationwide. The device supplied is a tablet which includes the following minimum specifications such as Android OS 10 and above, 4G LTE, where it supports LTE telco frequencies in Malaysia, minimum RAM 4GB, minimum storage 64GB, and also USB charger and Bluetooth keyboard included. Therefore, students from B40 category families may register and apply for this package, as the Ministry of Communication and Multimedia has decided to reopen the application for this Malaysian family student device starting from 1 August to 30 September. Therefore, financial problems should not be a problem when it comes to learning related topics, as there are many help and subsidies provided to help those in need nowadays. Therefore, in my opinion, I disagree with the statement where technology digital creates a gap and makes it harder for others who are unfamiliar with it to use it for e-learning. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Naza and Ms. Aisha, for your explanation. Mr. Hakimi, how online learning impacts the student health? Would you mind sharing your thoughts?
I think it is not good idea that some university must move to online education because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So, I fully disagree with statement because it shows that empowered students' emotional management is a major negative impact on students while undergoing online learning during the COVID-19 pandemic period due to physical movement limitation that affect students' emotion in addition to stress on lesson. This is because the learning routine of attending lecture and tutorial in person cannot be held, making students anxious to adjust to this new norm. This is anxiety causes them to lose the will to continue their study and do the assignment given by the lecturer. For example, from article after school.my reports that 2 UiTM students died due to stress from studying. The first case involved UiTM Merbuk student Nur Natasha Azrin, 22 years old. She was working late in coursework when she collapsed at her rental house around 3 a.m. The second case involved Muhammad Adham Hazim, 21 years old. He often sleep late to complete his assignment. On the day of her death, he crawled in her parents' room at 5 a.m. begging them to take to hospital. Both cases occurred in same month and year in July 2021. This is because not all students can accept this change easily because studying in cyberspace not only required physical endurance but also involved emotional and intellectual endurance. That's all from me. Thank you.
I agree with the panel 5, Muhammad Hakimi. So, after the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, it caused a lot of concern among students and lecturers themselves. This is because online learning gives many constraints or problems where students have to face internet problems. There are also those who do not have laptops, no specific space to study, and etc. So, it puts a lot of pressure on students' emotion because they cannot face the lecturers and friends to ask any problem related to learning. In fact, when face-to-face learning is not possible, students also find it increasingly difficult to understand what is being taught and learned. Especially the subjects that require a lot of calculations, such as accounts, statistics, and so on. Through the interview survey that has been conducted, out of 195 students from the total of 138, which is 71%, have shown increased stress and anxiety due to the COVID-19 outbreak. Various stresses can be identified that lead to increased levels of stress, anxiety, and even depressive thoughts among students. As Panel 5 said earlier, there are cases of students who died due to being too stressed and having various problems while studying online. This is also contributes a lot to suicide cases among students when they are always stressed and etc. So, due to the prolonged pandemic situation and burdensome measures such as curfews and stay at home, the COVID-19 outbreak has had a negative impact on higher education.
Thank you, Mr. Hakimi and Ms. Misa, for sharing your thoughts. Based on the discussion, it can be concluded that online learning has its pros and cons. Everyone, including the students and lecturers, has their own perspectives and viewpoints. Therefore, it is up to you to determine how to respond to the circumstances. Now we will move to the Q&A session. The first question is, online learning fatigue or digital weariness may limit us from completely focusing and participating in the long run, as our minds work in overdrive to handle the overstimulation of entirely digital encounters. Given that the future of training and working appears to be increasingly hybrid, it is critical that we discover means to overcome these obstacles. Thus, can any of the panels suggest any ways of overcoming this online learning fatigue?
Thank you for the question. To combat digital fatigue, one must first understand why it arises and how it impacts the individual. Although everyone's tolerance levels different, some prevalent reasons for digital fatigue include social inequities in the quality of technology use, connectivity challenges, lower resolution screens, and overwhelmedness caused by the abundance of web materials. We now work and study remotely, which contributes to our ever-increasing screen time, while all of those hilarious TikTok dances and great Instagram feeds are at our fingertips. Spending too much time looking at the device is one of the leading causes of digital tiredness. As a result, I urge that a person should manage their screen time and restrict it to the necessities. Before they can match their screen time with priorities, a person should first understand where it is spent. They may then determine which jobs shall be completed first by jotting them down. And do not forget to get enough sleep. After all, sleep enables your body to repair and prepare for the next day. This can help a person to take care of their mental health. I hope I answered this question well. Thank you.
The second question would be, did online learning have any negative effects, such as social isolation, since students experience solitude, remoteness, and a lack of engagement? And can one of the panels provide some recommendation on how to combat social isolation?
Thank you for asking the question. Personally, I think yes, online learning might have unintended consequence. This because many students who must spend the majority of their times in online may develop the symptom of social isolation as a result of a lack of human touch in their life. This is due to the presence of technology in their life to the breadth of the COVID-19 change. When combined with a lack of communication, social isolation may lead to a variety of mental health issues, including increased level of stress and anxiety as well as negative thoughts. Students who feel alone may talk to their friends or teacher at all hours on the day or night and try to join activities that have nothing to do with the schoolwork, and then they attempt to say bad things about themselves. Besides that, students may overcome the social isolation in online learning by maintaining a personal social life. They can spend a lot of their leisure time working on online tasks It is important to perform well in the class and have plenty of time to study. But it is equally critical to maintain a personal social life by getting out of the house and into the real world for a few hours each week. This is because having a social life outside school can help avoid feeling alone and reduce the stress of the online learning.
We appreciate the question and the lucid response from the audience and our panel. For today's forum, that is it. I sincerely apologize for any errors and any statements that may have caused you to feel less willing to join in our forum today. I also want to thank all of the ladies and gentlemen that took part. Thank you for your time and goodbye.